This is just an update on my self-aligning Boggle board project. You can see I've switched to putting bearings in the gears now. And how do we want these to line up? So I think they're lined up when they're in about this position. You can see that the upwards facing ramp and the downwards facing ramp both roughly line up, which will result in letters being upright like that, roughly. Okay, so if this one is going in, we want it roughly lined up like this one. Roughly is fine because the teeth will align it for us. Does that look right? Think so? Okay. And we can also see the gear rack mechanism works very well. However, I have put all of the gears in the wrong places because the idea was that you would pull this out and it would rotate the letters into position, and then you could put it back in and they'd stay where they are. But you'll note that when you pull it out, they're all moving towards the ramp face instead of the catch face. So I just have to take them all out and swap them around, but I'm not going to bother for now. Okay. That's the bottom. I'll put the lid on and then show you why it doesn't work. Lovely job. So everything still moves. Well, let's put all of the letters on at random. You can imagine that in the actual board, in the actual Boggle board, we could have like a plastic cover that allows you to shuffle all the tiles. Another one. Okay, so first problem, they don't sit flat, they sit at random angles. I think the problem is that I made these holes dished. And they actually don't need to be dished at all. They need to be cylindrical to allow the tiles to rotate, but they don't need to be dished. Being dished actively works against us because it allows the tiles to rotate in this plane and this plane, and we only want them to rotate this way. If you think the letters are hard to read, don't worry about that. They could easily be painted. So we manually muck about with all the letters to get them into the right place. And then, so the pull stroke won't have much of an effect because as we saw, the ramped side is pushing against the letters, but it turns a little bit. And then ideally, the push stroke, with how it's aligned now, with how it's arranged inside now, should rotate all of them so that they're facing the correct direction. But you'll see that it just doesn't work. The E, for example, is barely moving at all because it gets pushed up instead of rotated around. I mean, it sort of works, it moves them a bit. Whoops. But essentially, I think the letter tiles are too light, so they're pushed up too easily, and the ramps are just too small. So maybe this would work better if it was quite a bit bigger, or if the letter tiles were quite a bit heavier, or both. But it's not satisfying me at the moment. Another issue is because it's so light, if you jerk slightly as you're doing it, they all go everywhere. So yeah, doesn't look like this idea is going to work. So I'll have to come up with something else.